All right, so what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Bulls podcast. My name is Corey, and in today's episode, we'll be discussing the Bulls' path to contention. What is missing? So I don't want to sound overly optimistic here. I'm not saying that the Bulls are going to win the championship this year. I mean, you always hope that. But what is it going to take for the Chicago Bulls to be considered to be true title contenders, and then go from being considered title contenders to actually winning the NBA championship? So in my opinion, we're definitely going to need at least 2 star players. They don't even have to be 2 superstar players. Maybe 1 superstar and 1 star. But I think at the very minimum, we need at least 2 star players. So you may say to yourself, well, one of those star players may be on our team already. And you may be correct in that. I do think that I think that we do have a star player in the making. And I think that star player is Buzelis, and I hope that he becomes that star player that he has the potential to become. So another question mark with the Chicago Bulls is, do we have the right coach? Not taking anything away from Billy Donovan. He's a great coach. I don't know if he's the coach to necessarily get us over the hump, though, to be title contenders and then eventually win an NBA championship. And the reason why I say that is when you look at past NBA championship teams, you look at these types of coaches here, and you guys know what I'm talking about. These are some of the past NBA coaches who have won NBA championships as a head coach. So you have Larry Brown, Phil Jackson, Eric Spoelstra, Steve Kerr, Chuck Daly, Pat Riley, Mike Budenholzer, Frank Vogel, Nick Nurse, David Blatt, Popovich. You've got Scotty Brooks, Doc Rivers, Mike Malone. A lot of times those types of players can really squeeze the most out of their players, get the most out of them. And oftentimes they end up winning NBA championships, So I don't really put Billy Donovan in that category, but hey, you just never know. I mean, you look at Joe Mazzulla from the Celtics. You look at you look at the coach that just won the championship, Mark. I don't even know how to pronounce his name really. Mark Daigneault with the OKC Thunder. You look at him. I don't really see him is that type of stern NBA head coach either, but he won the championship. So I think Billy Donovan is a big question mark. I'm not so sure about him, but he may or may not lead us to be true title contenders and then eventually be NBA champions. So one thing I can say about Billy Donovan, I think that he does communicate well with his players. He gives his players chances and things like that. So I think that's something that Billy Donovan has in his favor there. So with the Chicago Bulls, what else do we need? I think that we need at least a few 3-point shooters who can be 3 to 4 3-point shooters that we can really depend on to knock down the open 3 and to just be great shooters, especially in today's game. So I think that that's something that the Chicago Bulls do great already. They were I think they were second in the league last year in regards to 3-point attempts per game. And I do give credit to Billy Donovan for that too. He really spaces the floor well with his players. We need a great center. Vucevic, I mean, he's solid, but we need a great center on this team. We need to have a great center, and we need a great backup center, or at least a great backup power forward, to get to that point where we can be true title contenders. I don't feel like we have a solid center, don't get me wrong, in Vucevic, but I feel like we don't have a great, just a really great starting center on our team. So that's what we need as well. We need to have players who have energy, who have passion, great defense. If you notice over the course of the past few years, it just seems like we're kind of lacking passion, lacking that defensive effort, that oomph, that a lot of championship teams have. We're kind of lacking that, like in the past couple of years, we've seen Zach LaVine get knocked around, DeMar DeRozan kind of get knocked around. I'm not saying that those players can't defend themselves, but then when you look at the reaction from our bench and things like that, a lot of people, it doesn't seem like they're really sticking up for each other and things like that. And I'm not advocating for fighting or violence or anything like that, but it just seems like the Bulls need a couple of more energy players. Like remember when the Bulls had Joakim Noah, Dennis Rodman, even the Warriors, like how they have Draymond Green. He's not necessarily the most skilled player, but the energy and the other things that he brings to his team are priceless. You know, every team that wants to aspire to win a championship needs a player like that. You need like that Draymond Green. You need that Ron Artest. You need that Dennis Rodman. You need that Tyson Chandler. You just need that type of player. And right now, the Bulls don't really have that. It may be somebody on the roster that can turn into that, but usually that's something that a player naturally has. You know, you don't have to ask the person to ask the player to do that. So the Bulls definitely need that energetic, just pumped up, just, you know, just ready for whatever type player, you know, on the squad. You know, they need that hustle player. You know, another good example of what I mean is like a Daniel Gafford or a Jackson Hayes. You know, they're not necessarily the most skilled players, and not taking anything away from them, but you know, the Bulls just need those types of players, you know. So I think off the top of my mind that those are the things that we need to become true title contenders and eventually NBA champions. I don't think that we're super far away from that, like a lot of people may think. I just think it's a matter of, okay, how far can Billy Donovan take us as a head coach? Do we have a star player on this team already? And where are we going to get this second star player from? Can we develop from within? Do we already have 2-star players, but we're not looking at it like that? You know, I do think that we need a stronger supporting cast of players, not taking anything away from the current players that we have. But I do think that we need some knockdown shooters. We need some great defenders as well. You know, as far as big man, you know, centers and power forwards, who can stop the ball, who can stop the point guard on the opposing team, who can stop the small forward on the opposing team, who can guard all positions. You know, we thought that Patrick Williams would possibly be that, but we see that he's having some struggles in that area. Let's just hope that he progresses as time goes on. So we just need those types of players. So just to sum this up, man, we need at least 2-star players. We need a great head coach who has a great philosophy for the game, a great approach to the game, who can squeeze the most out of his players. We also need knockdown 3-point shooters, people who can space the floor. We need at least one hustle player. We had that. We had Alex Caruso, but we traded him. You know, we got Josh Giddey. You know, I feel like it was a great trade. But at the same time, though, we do miss that energy that Alex Caruso brought with his defense and his mentality towards the game. So we need a hustle player. We need 3-point shooters. We also need defensive players. We need a hustle player. You know, that's what we need. So I think if we can have those pieces, I think that we'll be headed in the right direction as a franchise. Thank you guys for checking out this latest episode of Let's Talk Bulls podcast. My name is Corey. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel today. I try to make content all throughout the week, at least 2 to 3 times throughout the week. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys think about this video here. I will reply back to you. Have a great day. Peace out.